How
And
are we all? We all excited? Is everyone pumped in the spirit for all the good things that are coming our way?
yeah,
So this morning this could go anywhere this morning, guys, just letting you know. Because there is so much amazing stuff happening in the spirit that I've been working with and becoming aware of. But I want to launch off with the fact that I want to talk about the absolutes of God, like the absolutes of the things in the spirit. And the absolute of God is, number one, is where we need to know his character. If you know that you know who God is for you, you will be unshakable. And you will always know where you're heading and what you're about. Oh, here we go. Excuse me, sorry. Um, so I want to touch on this. First of all, the absolute of God is a binding covenant. And it's important that we understand the difference between a contract and a covenant, because a covenant is, well, let me go back. A contract is where two parties agree, and it all depends on each person's contribution or their deeds, or fulfilling what they said that they would do, which is an agreement and a contract between two people, but can be broken. If someone doesn't fulfill their end of the contract, basically the contract's null and void, or then we go into a whole different aspect of it. With God, we have a covenant. And that covenant is an absolute. In other words, God will never change in the covenant, regardless of what you do or don't do. It's really important that we get this, because we've been brought up in a world where, and especially the core value of, our humanness has shifted. In fact, very little core values and morals exist today, in the sense that people will say something and do another. Their word is never their word. Remember when once upon a time, if you're as young as me, a handshake was a contract. And this is where, now it's like, oh, people say they're going to do something, but you never put much expectation in it, because the chances are they're not going to do it. Very few people follow up and fulfill their word. But this is not who God is. God's word is his word. His promises are his promises. And the more you meditate on his character, on his, you know, personality, on his morals, the stronger you grow in knowing who he is and who you are to him. So, he's a God that there is always forgiveness. There's always mercy. There's always grace. And there's always victory and success and life abundantly. So when we go to the difference between the old and the new, is, as in biblical scripture, we are often taught to stay in the old covenant. I find, if those that are familiar with this, the prophets, I used to challenge this. No surprise there, in the sense of they used to always bring prophetic words that were always based on the Old Testament. And I would go, hang on a minute, we're in a new covenant. So why are we bringing the old and trying to wrap it up in the new? We're in a new covenant. We're in a covenant that is completely shifted. It's not about works. It's not about, um, the things that you have to do. It's not about the sacrifices. So this is the importance of grasping hold of the new covenant. And when you grow in that, you don't want to do anything wrong. You don't want to, damage the relationship, so to speak, with God or in the spirit. And we talk about the things of the spirit, but it's really connecting to the heart of God that gives us our foundation. It gives us our stability. We work with the spirit, but it's God that's our foundation and Jesus. So, that's where we sit. But ultimately, God is our foundation. So there are things in the spirit that we inherit. And, I know I talk a lot about generational curses and vows and things like that and contracts, which are really important because we've got to realize what's influencing our life for the good or for the bad. Now, there are, I always look at the blessings that have been passed down generationally as well, because they are the things that can be manifesting down the lines also. And this is where what we do today, what you and I do today, can be for good, is passed down generational. It's done in the spirit. So, what the grounding that we need to come from is that we need to grasp that the spiritual realm is superior to the natural realm. What we do in the spirit then affects the physical. The things we do in the physical affects the spiritual. This is a given law. No one can escape from that fact. And this is why, when we understand and really get hold of who God is for us and walk in that, things around you will start to fall into place. If things are going wrong, or you're not in that frequency of love, then you need to stop and ask the question why, because something has shifted. People bring the perspective that God is far away, and Bette Midler sang a song, God is in the distance, and people used to sing that song, and I'd look at them going, that's a lie. God is not distant. God is always wanting to be connected with us. He's always wanting to be moving with us. And this is part of, guys, I know you've heard me say this, is that 24/7, 7 days a week for the rest of your life is connected with God. And because not only that, guess where you go after this life? You want to be in his realm. You want to be in the heavens. You want to be, already have that relationship so that when you step into the next world, so to speak, you already know what it's all about. These are the learnings that we can grasp here. And often this is how the enemy comes at us. If he can shake our belief or our absolutes in God, is when confusion comes in, when we can be double-minded, when we can start to come from fear rather from that knowing that God is with us and for us. So I'm going to be really bold here, guys, and I'm going to launch into something a little bit different. So I'm sure all of you have heard about powers and principalities and authorities, which again, scriptures talks about. That is our battle. It's not against flesh and blood. It's against powers, principalities, and authorities. And what's really interesting I've been watching some of the things that Trump is saying and has said. And one of them is he's talking about watch the water. Now, part of the shift that we are globally in is that we are coming out from under, this is what I believe, This is what I've researched. This is the information. I just want to put that out there. Some of you may be aware of this. Some of you are going, what the heck is she talking about? So we're coming out of Admiralty law. We're coming out of the law of water. And when you look at the principality of water, what it is called is the Leviathan spirit. The Leviathan spirit controls the waters. Okay, now I'm working on a very deep series on presenting all the different principalities that we actually are affected by, which have already been defeated. Let me put that there. But also it's we're coming out from under it. And when I say that, I'm saying we, the people, God's people, are awake and becoming aware of the things that we have sat under, the things that we have allowed to affect our lives and that we've contracted with, knowingly and unknowingly. And this is where, I feel that the Lord is leading me to start unpacking some of these things so that we can grow in our awareness of, what we have been under, but what we're coming out from under. And like when I say this, when you're connected with God, you're already out of it, but parts of you are still needing to be set free from it. Does that make sense? So it's with the shift that we've been experiencing the last 6 years, is we've become aware. We've been awakened to things that some of us already knew. Some of us kind of thought, that doesn't seem right. So why is that happening? And not have answers for it, to all of a sudden go, oh, that's what that is. That's how they do it. That's how they keep us doing the treadmill, doing the 9 to 5. So this is where that awakening and awareness is what's bringing that global consciousness shift. And this is where we're coming into having these great conversations about the things of the Spirit, about God, about how the Spirit moves. We're starting to come out of our religious thinking, and we're coming out of even some of the new age thinking to come into the alignment with the truth of how we are meant to be and who we were designed to be. And this is so exciting in that sense, because we are, becoming more authentic to who God created us to be. That excites me. I'm excited. I'm excited of the shifts that's happening. I'm excited with the awareness. I'm loving even the growth that I'm experiencing. And for me, there's a lot of questions that I've had for, God, how does that work? Or how does that fit, that I'm getting answers for? And with getting those answers, I want to help bring other people into that awareness as well. And so I want to say this, it's also, the positioning of the archangels. Now, we did a series touching on both angels and demons and entities and their positioning. So this is kind of the next layer to those talks that we had. And I want to assure you that all the angels are in position and hold power and authority over these principalities to this day. These principalities cannot work out from under God's authority and the archangels' authorities. What they're always looking for is how to make contracts with man to then be able to outplay their agenda. And this is what's shifting. So, the things from the Vatican, the things from Freemasonry, things from the Masonry or the Brotherhood, so to speak, so that we can put them all in the one bundle, if that's okay. They are all part of the Brotherhood, the Illuminati, the Cabal. They want to present like they're not connected, but they are all connected. They're all departments. And this is what's coming down. It's a done deal. We're just walking through some of the things and coming to the awareness of it. If we don't come to the awareness of the shift, then we won't know how to not step back into it again. It's like if you tell your child not to touch the hot stove, and then they go and touch the hot stove, they don't do it again. So this is the spiritual awareness that we're coming through, is to know how we are entrapped, how we're ensnared, how they coerce us and try to get us to contract with them. It's a little bit mind-blowing, can I say, because as I've done this research, I'm like, my gosh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I had to come back to being reminded that, yes, it is, but it is being dealt with. And this is the awareness will help you realize what not to contract with, especially if you're still growing in your spiritual authority, your spiritual power. It's so that you stay on track. It's like, let's not contract with evil. Let's not step into that snare. Let's not get taken out of our journey, because we are being empowered and strengthened in this time. Is there any questions regarding that?
Unmute your microphone if you have a question.
Dottie, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to unmute my camera. It's not letting me. Sorry, I can't. Okay, I'll just have to leave. One world. I'm hearing about a one world religion, Dottie. Is this part of what you're talking about this morning?
Yes, this is. I think I mentioned this last week. This is part of their presentation. They want us to go into a one world religion. That's not where we want to go. Okay. Right? See, it's in the wording is what we have to listen to, and then listen to it spiritually. So their agenda, the Luciferians, or I'll call it the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood's agenda is that we will have one world government, one world religion, and one world finance. That's not what we want, okay? That is definitely not what we want. We want individuality, but we want equality, and we want the rulership of the one true God. So let me just expand on that. They call Lucifer God. So when they say God, we think they're talking about the one true God. They're not. So this is where the deception is, in the language. It's in their wording. And this is how they present all throughout religion. They present one way, and then we think it means like being on the good side, but that's not what it actually means. And this is what we're waking up to.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you, Dottie.
Okay, no worries. Anyone else got questions? Come on, guys, let's make this exciting.
Yeah,
Stretch
Dottie,
me.
Yeah, Dottie. I raised my hand, but you cannot see it, right?
I can't.
This is
Sorry.
Lisa here. Lisa, I want to raise a question, or perhaps ask you advice, because what happened to us, to Hans and me, was that a guy showed up. He was sent, I guess, from God, I don't know, But as he was talking to us, it came out that he was a Knights Templar. He calls himself. So I looked up what it was, and I was not very well on the good side impressed. I was impressed of all the evil that they done, but it seemed that they don't exist anymore. But he still calls himself that way. Now it is the case that this guy was overloading us with his problems, and we didn't want that. Or I didn't want it. But he can be so persuading. So some of the stuff Hans did for him, and other stuff, then he asked me to do something. I said, no, I don't, because I didn't want to contract. But I also know that God is forgiving, and he wants to not let out people. So he wants to include everyone, right? So I don't know for sure if this is a possibility to include him in the better world, or that he is still convinced that he should be in the dark. And this is a bit my problem. So I don't want to separate people from the group or our group, Hans and me, but I do not want to contract with evil. So this is a bit a dilemma for me. And I'm not quite sure if this person is just lonely, or that he wants us to work for him, right? To do stuff for him. So this is a bit, is it clear? Does it make sense?
Yep. Okay, let me answer that for you. All right, great question. A great subject to bring to the table. So first of all, the Knights Templars, the Order of the Knights Templars still exist.
Oh, it does. Okay.
It does, right? So
Yeah.
does the Order of the Rosicrucians, the Order of the Rose, the Order of the Phoenix, the Order of the White Pearl. There are so many of them, guys. And
Yeah.
they are, like I said, they try to appear separate, but they're all part of the brotherhood.
Okay.
Now, and you've got to understand that their recruiting is done in a way that they take the vulnerable or the unaware, and they present like they're doing good things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the deeper you get involved with them and the higher you go up in the levels is where they start to ensnare you even more so. So there's still lots of really good people that are in those different orders that are completely unaware
Yeah, but he's not, right?
of what they're contracting with, because they don't know the hierarchy of it. They're not introduced into the hierarchy. So this is what I've found, guys. When someone tells me that they are part of an order, they're actually sounding you out to see if you are one of them or that you are open to being recruited.
What is it?
Okay, so it's like I found in this journey that people, oh yeah, you know, my parents, my dad was as a Freemason, and they look at me to see whether I've got Freemasonry in my generation, because a lot of people go, oh yeah, my parents were Freemasons too. There's a connection, right? So
Yeah.
my parents were never in any of that, but you've got to understand they're looking to see who they are. You on the same page? Is there a spiritual connection somewhere that they can hook onto?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is why I feel it's really important that we become very aware of what it is that it's around us. And you know, I'm working on this presentation to be able to show people, but then part of me goes, oh, but I don't want to scare everybody, but I feel it's important that we're aware, because I always take on a sense of responsibility that if I show things to people, if they're not ready for it, I don't want to do harm. Does that make sense? Some people are not ready for some of the insights, and it freaks them out, because then they go, oh yeah, but my family was involved with all of these, and you go, oh, okay, sorry. When you're bringing the truth to the situation, does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
and these are the things that we need to, again, you know, be very aware you're cutting off. So let me just explain the situation here without, with, you know, there's no judgment here whatsoever. Please hear me when I say this. There's no criticism, but I want to use this as an example, if that's okay, Hans.
Yeah.
Because this gentleman's come into your life. We naturally want to help people, okay? And that's fine. But what happens when you're helping people at a soul level? You're creating soul ties. And it's really, again, going back to what I do with my end of every day, I cut soul ties. I cut soul ties so that if there's anything knowingly or unknowingly that I have contracted with, I've dealt with it. So if you've done things for this person, I'm not saying he's bad, but if he's saying that he's in the Knights Templar, then I would be cutting soul ties with that. If you've helped this guy on an emotional level. Does that make sense? Yeah. So,
Yes, it does.
you know, yeah. And look, guys, honestly, it is a really important, I found it to be a really important tool to keep my spirit free from being uncluttered with the things of this world, right? So you know by now that my focus is always the spiritual. That doesn't mean that I'm not balanced, because I'm very balanced in the things that are natural, and I will help anybody that needs help. But it also means, you know, using wisdom on cutting off from circumstances and situations so that frequency and vibration of that situation doesn't sit on you. Because it can, if it stays on you, then it can be a doorway for something else to connect to, whether it's an entity, something like that. Like someone lent me a book, and because of, you know, what I'm unpacking from the demonic side, so to speak, and they lent me a book, and this book's got entities attached to it. And I was like, oh, radio, so we need to get rid of this book. It didn't have what I was looking for anyway, what I was feeling led to unpack. But it was interesting that this book has entities attached to it. And so I had to deal with that and remove the book. Okay, it was like, okay, this person really loves this book. They can have their book back. Did it bring much insight? Maybe a bit of insight to the person. But yeah, and people genuinely, their heart's intent is genuinely that they think that they're on doing the right thing. Like I don't know if this is going to be too controversial, and I'll just put it out there, but I don't get where people think that there are white witches.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going, well, what's the difference between a white witch and a dark witch? And they go, what's the intent? I go, yeah, but what energy are you guys tapping into? And they can't answer me. Because they do spells. They do all sorts of things. And I'm looking at that going, I don't get that. Now, my journey in life is I have connected with people that have come out of the occult. They were born and bred to be high priestesses. And I learned a lot from them. They came into my life for the very reason to learn how the enemy works, but also to help them transition out of it. Okay, not everyone's not everyone is up for that. Not everyone's called to do that, and you really do need to know what you're doing. And you really need to know who you are in God and who God is for you. So, and I learned a lot from them. I learned, a lot of stuff that is written in books that is incorrect even, and how to bring change to that person when they're in that state. And if they're trying to come out of underneath that control, because you got anyone that's been born into a witch coven or the brotherhood, they are born and bred for a purpose in that, in their agenda. It honestly is a miracle, and only the power of God that gets them out and brings healing and transformation for them, because they are so programmed. Do you want me to get a bit deeper on that subject, or shall I move on? I can't see everybody. So Jenny, can you help there?
Happy to hear it. Sorry.
Is everyone else happy to hear it as well?
Yeah, everybody, it's good. Yeah.
So, when they are born and bred, they are, firstly, there are breeders, right? Women that are breeders purely for to birth children into the brotherhood, and they actually torture the children while they're in the womb to cause submission, and they test that child's will. What they're doing is they're creating that child the minute that it's born is to be submissive and compliable. And there's a lot of programming that goes into, directing these children's lives. And, anyone that I've met that's gotten out of it, I tell you, I shake their hand, because it's pretty, it takes a lot of guts and determination to come out from underneath that and to break those ties. And, the brotherhood doesn't let go of people willingly, I can assure you that. So, if you want to understand how the enemy works, he's always looking to make contracts. He's always looking to, find a host that he can work through. So now let's put that on the other side. God has created this covenant, and he's looking for those that want to have a covenant with him and be used, and work and partner with him to bring his heart and will onto the earth. So this is the battle that we're in, even though, Lucifer or the brotherhood are here illegally. The only power that they have is the power that we humans give it. So you got to understand that. And that's why their frequency is always fear. It's always chaos. It's always confusion. So if we stay in peace and love, then we don't enter into their realm. We are not dragged into their their contracts, because we are more aware of what's going on. That's why it's important to feel the frequency, the energy, the vibration on things. It's like if it's not for you, it won't resonate for you. It doesn't gel. And this is, I want to take this even to answer a question that someone emailed me. Even the word, the word it's what speaks to you. Don't try and nut out the Bible with your head. It's not going to work. There are, incredible principles, spiritual principles, incredible tools and spiritual laws that are present in the Bible that will resonate with you. And I find a lot of those that became like a revelation or really my spirit just kind of went, oh, yes, went, oh, wow, that's it. It became truth for me, is my foundation even to this day. Because it wasn't, and I have read the Bible. So those who go, well, she doesn't know a Bible. I do. I know my Bible very well. But there are parts of it that really resonated with my spirit to be part of my foundation. And those revelations have actually been the very tools in the spirit that we can use. How to, take my, in Ephesians, it talks about taking hold every thought, taking captive of every thought. That is a spiritual principle that, disperses confusion and chaos. And when you grab hold of that, you get clarity, because we are, bombarded with so many different voices and so many aspects to life. So that just brings, peace be still, all is well with my soul, even while you're going through a journey of transformation and transfiguration. Has anyone else got a question? Jenny,
Iris?
you'll have.
Yeah, go ahead, Iris.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you. Yeah, you're talking exactly on the same lines as Dan Duvall, who does SRA deliverances big time.
Yeah.
It's amazing, his teaching and stuff. So difficult for churches to come alongside with that, though. It's we're just trying to slowly to our pastors say, quit being parrots, and how about let's be eagles and start flying.
Well, absolutely. And most pastors don't want to touch it, because it's not, it's not popular, or, people are afraid of it. And, very, very, very few churches want to even touch it.
Right.
And it's because can I be really honest? Most of them teach a powerless gospel, and or a formula gospel. And this is what we're breaking out from underneath. And, I'm not afraid of people that are part of any order, in the sense of I have no fear, because I know who God is, and I know who I am in God. And and that is because if they're coming to get, set free, we need more people to be open to them, because often we pull away from people that have been in covens or stuff like that, because we go, oh, they're evil. They're not evil. There is evil, but most of them, like, you think about this for a minute, guys. They are, if they're born into it, they are made to do horrific things. And if they don't do what they're told, they are severely punished.
Yeah, it's
Like,
unbelievable.
Yeah, they are absolutely tortured. And we have no comprehension of that has never experienced it or seen it. And this is where, we need to have discernment. We need to have the heart of God. God's heart is that none would perish, right? But then we don't come with this judgment of, if you don't, accept Jesus, or if you don't do the rituals that we're telling you, then you're not going to make it into heaven. And I'm really very clear on this. None of us have a right to judge who will make it, so to speak, into, the heavens, and who won't.
It's if you listen to Dan Duvall's Discovering Truth podcast, where he interviews people that have come out of SRA and are survivors, he calls them.
Yeah.
Had victory, and what he is learning in the second heaven and third heaven, and what's going on, and it's just phenomenal. Like, it's science fiction, and the world is starting to want to know. Like, it seems like the new age people, they understand it, they get it, because they're delving in that all the time. And whereas Christians are sort of like, oh no, this is just evil stuff. You don't talk about portals, you don't talk about Archie, and you don't talk about all the spirit things that, I mean, even the first chapter of Ezekiel and the amazingness of the wheels and the heavenly
Yeah.
beings, and how he wants the kingdom to expand, and how we're a part of it. We're he's given us his DNA as we take communion, and that's his blood, and we get Jesus DNA. Like, I mean, how much more powerful can we as God's people be to see victory in, like what you're saying, and not be afraid and not be judging? I get that. That's so good, because Jesus just wants all these poor people that are so tortured. It's just unbelievable.
Well, the fact of the matter is, there is even, in some religions, some of their rituals are not, and their sacraments are not what we are taught. And and I'm going down this journey on, okay, do I bring this truth out on the table? So there's a lot still for us to unpack, and there's still a lot of ungodly contracts that we have made unknowingly under the disguise of religion, and even New Age, that we need to break those contracts. We need to renounce them. We need to, break those contracts and that energy and frequency and the hooks off us, so that we can become more and more how God already made us. The DNA of God was already in us when we were born or conceived, and we even have cells of immortality already in our bodies. And this is what is not taught. The true power of, resurrection power is not taught. And people are afraid. They get, they whimper, they're always looking for someone else to do everything. And I mean, the more of us that stand up and go, nah, not on my watch, and more consciously aware, is how we are going to shift more of this darkness off the earth. So we're going to see on the other end of this a lot of very, very brave and incredible people that took stands. Some of them have had their lives taken, that, have helped propel this shift on the earth. And we will, a lot of monuments will come down. I think there's a lot of even church buildings and structures that will have to be removed, because at the end of the day, the Vatican itself is just a whole temple to so many pagan gods that are anti-God and are Luciferian. And that's part of the awakening. It's going to be a very interesting journey. All right. Well, how are we going for time, Jenny? Can't even see that.
We've got 15 minutes.
All right. Anyone else there? Jenny, you got any questions? Jenny, you got anything you want to bring to the table?
There was something you just said. Can't remember what it was. You just said it. Yeah, I don't remember. Does anybody got anything?
Does anyone,
I can say something. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Is it a question?
This is Siri. No, I was going to make a comment. I'm on my phone, so I don't know how to, I don't navigate as well when I'm not on my computer as far as raising my hand and all that, but I was just going to make a comment, but I can bow out for a question.
No, go for it.
I just wanted to say thank you for being here and offering what you do, because it's it feels like we're part of such a minority, And it's just really nice to have the community and not feel like a minority for an hour when we do this. And I also want to testify to your comment about New Age and how it is true that I was raised New Age, and we in my family with my mom were always searching for God. And the odd thing is that my mom had a death experience which was amazing, which is how I came to believe in God, but there wasn't any Jesus in it. It was just God. And that's what's so strange, what was kind of strange for me. And so I felt like my mom never really totally found Jesus, but she did. I mean, she, went through the salvation prayer at the end of her life, and she just didn't really understand, I don't think, the depth of who Jesus was and what he did. But I just wanted to testify to the fact that there are so many New Age people who just are very spiritually minded, and they want that spirituality that they can't get in the church buildings, but they are
Absolutely.
searching for God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, when New Age started taking off like years ago, I actually said, going, God, what's going on? Like, what's with the New Age? What's happening? And he showed me in the spirit. He said, Dot, I had to release New Age because the church would not empower the people of their spirituality. And
Amen.
I went, I get that. I mean, that was an answer. It made sense to me because the church teaches powerlessness. Whereas when people started to move to New Age, they started to tap into this, who they are spiritually. Not all of it is truth, because that's what the enemy tends to do. He takes truth and then twists it and manipulates it and tries to debunk it, so to speak. And I've met many, many people that were involved with New Age that are beautiful human beings. They've got great hearts and they are looking for God. And I've been able to take them on ascensions where they connect with God. Even some of them have met Jesus in that ascension. And this is where we've got to come out of these hard and fast rules of, if you haven't accepted Jesus, and said the sinner's prayer, you're not going to heaven. We can't make that judgment. That is it's almost bordering on the have tos, and God doesn't work like that. That's not how I found God to work. It's always a choice, and you can't really separate God from Jesus and from the Spirit because the three are one. It's the same as I'm Dot, but I'm also a daughter and I'm also a mother. You can't separate that. So it's like if they connect with God, then they've connected. This is how I see it, guys. And that's where we're coming out from that religious programming that unless it's done a certain way, and the New Age, if you haven't cleaned all your 7 chakras, then you're not going to, create a certain status. What a load of bunk. I just said, God, I want you in my life. And he changed my life dramatically. So, for other people's, it's a bit more gentler or a bit slower. It just depends on who you are and your personality and how God made you. I like having, my hair on fire. I like the wind in my hair. I like going Mach 10. I like God moving, dealing with stuff, and we're moving and we're in momentum. It's who I am, but I always do it from a place of rest as well, so that there's a balance in it.
Mm.
Yeah. So
but
thank
I
you
was-
for sharing that. That's great. And thank you for your appreciation. Look, I'm just bringing what is on my heart. It's not for everybody. Not everyone's going to agree. And you know what? You are completely in your right, because we are all powerful beings. And, this is where we're coming into being able to think for ourselves, process for ourselves, have the experience and the encounters for ourselves. There are things that I'll say that you go, oh, I don't know about that. That's okay. Put it on the shelf. If it's not for you, don't worry about it. There's some things that I'll say that will resonate with your spirit. You will feel the truth on it for you. You will feel the presence of God and the Spirit on it for you. And you'll go, yeah, that really resonates with me. That's truth for me. And then process it and utilize it. Please don't not use the tools that I've presented, that are written in God's heart. They're written in the Word. They're spiritual truths and tools that we have available to us. All righty. Well, thank you everyone for being here this morning. Sorry I'm on my phone and on the run. I think that's where we'll leave it, Jenny.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah? All good? Is everyone all good?
Yes, thank you, Dottie. Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks, Gil. Bless
Thank
you.
you so much, Dottie. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Jenny.
Dottie.
Bye bye, Jenny. Bye bye.
Bye. Have a great week.
Bye. Yes, you too.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Dottie.
Bye-bye.